YJHs' expression slowly changed as he held me by the neck. Previously, I would already be falling through the air. Now everything was the opposite. I flew through the air instead of falling. YJHs had thrown me as hard as he could. YJHs was watching me. His expression showed he was certain that I wouldn't die. I didn't hear his voice, but I could tell what he was saying.
Feed him one blow, Kim Dokja.
The moment I was about to answer, the tentacles blocked my gaze. The attack of the tentacles missed me by a hair's breadth, and I landed on the Eater of Dreams' body. I used the strength remaining in my arms to grab the body and move towards the wound. This guy was a life-threatening presence just through touch. If I was still an incarnation, I might have already passed out or died. If he finished his descent, it was scary to think about what might happen. I threw my body into the wound.
I'm sorry. I can't go with you.
Power drained from my body, and I felt Chuck Jung Young's strength scattering. I didn't panic because I had already expected it. Soon afterwards, the wound connected to the outside completely closed. I floated in the air like a person floating in the universe. The inside of the Eater of Dreams was as dark as the sky. It was a space with no blood or flesh. It was natural, since the outer god wasn't a living thing. Dung, dung, dung. I heard the sound of drums coming from somewhere. Then there was a whispering. Someone gazed at me. It wasn't hard to breathe, despite there being no air. Perhaps the moment I entered this space, my very existence was transformed. Then after a while, all sounds disappeared. The screams of the incarnations and the messages of the constellations were gone. Instead, there were unknown characters and images. This was the stomach of the Eater of Dreams. It was a place where all the stories he had eaten were gathered. There were some stories I could recognize. Perhaps they were from the Founder's mother. It's my fault. The foolish history was too long. I have to protect this land from the nebula. However, now there is no one in Hongik. Where have all the gods of creation gone? Huaneng! I want to see Huaneng. Then a story with a small light came up to me and shouted,
What are you doing? Why are you here? Run away!
The light flickered. Thank you, but there was nowhere for me to run away to. The outer gods were existences rooted in the distant outer universe. Half of his body was connected to the second floor of the Dark Castle, while the inside of his body was directly connected to the outer universe. Thus, his stomach was like outer space to me. It was a world of sheer emptiness, only filled with the desire to eat. The Eater of Dreams wanted me. The scattered letters gathered together and started to form a shape. In this empty space, eyes and a mouth were created. In fact, I wasn't sure if they were eyes or a mouth, but I had to think of it in these terms since I was a human. He seemed to be saying something, but his voice wasn't heard properly. After a while, the letters shivered and started to transform into words that I could understand. The smell of an interesting story. The moment the two eyes looked at me, I gulped without knowing it. This was the presence of a god who caused fear in even the narrative-grade constellations. The presence of an inferior scenario. How do you hear me? The exclusive skill, Fourth Wall, is extremely active. The fourth wall became more active than it had ever been so far. I felt like a wall was growing on my skin. It meant this enemy was dangerous. He wasn't even a great old one. I couldn't imagine what gods such as the Fear of Sarnath or Horror from the Hills or Master of Relais would be like. I took a deep breath and slowly opened my mouth. Eater of Dreams, you are a great god of another world. Oh. The letters of the Eater of Dreams twitched like he was surprised by my words. In this guy's eyes, I wasn't even a bug. I was a strange toy he could erase at any time. Strong sparks occurred around me and the letters started to revolve. There was something that wanted to penetrate inside me. However, as soon as it reached my side, it was bounced off. The letters of the Eater Dreams spoke in a subdued manner. What are you? Are you under a special protection? This guy had attempted to mentally invade me. Then he had been bounced off by the fourth wall. I would have been destroyed if I didn't have this skill. I controlled my heart and looked at the Eater of Dreams. As I said before, the YJHs of the 136th regression was eaten by him. However, YJHs didn't die. In other words, my current basis was his 136th attempt. I slowly opened my mouth so that I wouldn't be caught by his boundaries. I came to tell you a story. Story! I like stories. The outer god reacted immediately. The monstrous greed caused him to become fuzzy. Among the stories you have eaten, there are those belonging to Lee Suk-young. Please send her back. The face looked puzzled. This isn't a story. I will tell you a story in exchange. What story will you tell me? I pointed to myself without speaking. It was obvious what I meant. I was making a bet with my existence at stake. The big eyelids slowly blinked. Small constellation? Yes. Do you intend to make a deal with me? The moment I was going to open my mouth, shapes appeared in the air. It was an image made up of the stories that the Eater of Dreams had devoured. The bear doesn't talk to the fish. The images shown were a giant bear, reminiscent of Founder's mother. The bear looked around with foolish eyes and caught the fish flowing through the empty universe. The Eater of Dreams looked at the bear and said, Human! I don't negotiate with bugs. I hadn't been properly recognized yet. A half-constellation couldn't deal with a cosmic deity. It was a natural story. However, I shook my head. If bugs talk like humans, think like humans, and act like humans, they can't be called bugs anymore. I glared at the two huge black eyes. You aren't qualified to make a deal with me. I can take away everything you have at any time. Then why are you talking to a bug instead of taking it away? The bear eating the fish looked at me. The bear raised its paws in a threatening manner, as if it was going to hit me right away. I stared at the bear and said, The bear knows how to eat fish, but it doesn't know how to eat them deliciously. The bear's paw hesitated. The feet are damaged by the scales. The claws are dirty after taking out the guts of the fish, and it just feels its anger. Just as I'm not a bug, you're not a bear. Isn't that right? The letters in the space jumbled together and the Eater of Dreams' face became bizarre. Usually I would be terrified, but I had read the original novel. I started grinning. This situation was too pleasant for me to bear. All of the stories will be damaged if you forcibly take them. If you trample on me right now, you won't get a perfect story. I will tell you a story that you can eat in its best condition. You will always be able to eat it. Dung, dung, dung. Once again, I heard a drumming sound. It was like a giant beast's pulse. The tempo of the sound became increasingly faster. Dung, 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 dung. I had read the original work and knew the identity of this drumming sound. I want to eat you. This sound was the Eater of Dreams' hunger. I gulped and raised both hands. If you keep your promise, I will give you a lot. The letters turned into smoke and started to form a shape. After a while, it took on the appearance of my mother. Is this what you want? I nodded. This story has some interesting corners. I saved it because it smelt more delicious than the shell of the constellation I ate along with it. I want to eat you very badly, but I can't afford to give you this story. Are you a beast who can't control your hunger? Is there anyone who would be offended by the insults of bugs? Fucking bastard. I didn't know what rank he was among gourmets, but he was low among the outer gods. The letters formed a brutal smile. The conversation with you ends here. I will eat all of you. The image of the bear who caught the fish flew towards me, bearing sharp teeth like a piranha. There was no place to run away. My legs couldn't move, and in any case, I was in his stomach. Shit, fine. If you want to eat, then eat as much as you like. Instead, I spread open my arms and greeted him. Be sure to eat all of it. Hundreds of fish started to eat at my body. They bit my arms, my legs, my back, and my face. I felt a terrible pain, but no blood came out. Instead, it was letters. The stories and histories I had built up started to leak out after I was bitten by his teeth. Oh, this is. The god shrieked with joy at the heavenly delicacies. My consciousness was blurred and there was a pounding in my head. Nevertheless, I held on. I had to hold on until he ate the part I was thinking about. Oh. Oh? The next moment, something poured out of me like a waterfall. He had touched something. The exclusive skill, Fourth Wall, has reacted to the vibrations hitting the wall. The moment I was waiting for had finally come. The letters poured into his stomach, creating a torrent. It was an enormous amount of stories. You! What the hell are you? The baffled Eater of Dreams cried out to me, but I didn't have the strength to answer. It was hard to keep my sanity with all the stories pouring out. I looked at the sentences passing in front of my eyes. Hyuk looked at the mouth of the Eater of Dreams and spoke. It was the contents of Ways of Survival. Yes, if you want to eat me, eat as much as you can. It was the 136th regression Hyuk. Hyuk was eaten by the Eater of Dreams and had been in the same situation as me. What the hell is this? Hyuk of Ways of Survival replied on my behalf. You will know. You will experience what it is like to have lived 136 times. You will know all the loneliness, sorrow, anger, and hatred towards this damn world that I felt during this awful time. You think of humans as worse than bugs. If so, feel it from now on. Wait a minute. The pain that bugs suffer. Feel the history of the bug that you can't handle. If you have the confidence to eat me, then eat and eat as much as you can. The stories pouring all filled the stomach of the Eater of Dreams with continuous explosions. The Eater of Dreams ate Ways of Survival and struggled with the pain. Somewhere in his stomach, cracks started to appear. Ways of Survival spoke as if laughing at the confused Eater of Dreams. It was the moment when the Eater of Dreams, who was born in space and lived for 8,000 years, realized it. It was the scene where Hyuk first killed a god. I had read it over and over again, almost memorizing it. I paraphrased the following sentence on behalf of Ways of Survival. In this world, there's a story that should never be eaten.